Good evening, everyone. Hey, it's Wednesday, and it's This Week at the Theater. We had some technical difficulties last night, so we couldn't do our broadcast, but we wanted to make sure we got it out there this week because we are going to take a short vacation for a couple of Tuesdays, and we're going to be back after that with This Week at the Theater, as always. And tonight we've got not only This Week at the Theater, but we've got a community conversation. So you're going to get 2 for 1 this evening. So welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, this is hosted by the Sacramento Area Regional Theater Alliance, SARTA. You can contact us at the website sarta.com, where you can upload all of your information about what's going on in your local theater and let us know what's happening so we can share it out here on This Week at the Theater. We're making a concerted push right now to really get our theaters, member theaters or not, we're not sort of doing that model anymore. So if you have a theater company, if you have a production company, we invite you to come to our website, go to our About page, and you'll see a section for the theaters to go and click on a form that says you can do auditions, you can tell us about your shows, whatever's coming up, and it will be added to our community calendar right there on the website for free. So upload your photos or posters of the show that's coming up or the special event you're having so we can share that with the theater community. This is how we're trying to help support theater as we open back up and get a little more comfortable with going out in these post-COVID times. So please let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods, okay? All right, well, let's get started. We do still have a couple special events that are going on. Oh, wait, this one already happened. I'm sorry. That one shouldn't even be in there. If you didn't get tickets for this, you already missed it because that was last weekend, but this one's coming up. Come and sing with us. We have a karaoke night coming up at Track 7 Brewing Company. This is the Track 7 has several locations. This is going to be the Curtis Park location, which is 3747 West Pacific Avenue in Sacramento. We're going to be there on October 1st. Let's just start that month off right with some karaoke, Broadway karaoke. It's a dog-friendly site, so if you have a fur baby you want to bring with you, you absolutely can. We've got some free arcade games that are going to be up and running that evening also. So if you want to come and play some arcade games and hang out with friends, network with some other people in the theater community, this is your time to do it. So come on down and join us at Track 7 Brewing Company on October 1st for some Broadway karaoke, okay? All right. Moving on, we've got a, costume sale coming up. Is this one still happening? Nope, this one's over also. I thought I cleaned those. I need to do a better job. But this one hasn't happened yet. This one's coming up this coming weekend. Celebration Arts is having their storytelling festival, so you have time to get your tickets for that. It's going to be an amazing event. They do this every year, and they get together and they allow people to tell stories, whatever that story may be, a fantastic tale that you've written, something that will shock or scare or soothe somebody, make somebody laugh. Anything that captures your imagination, you can share at the Storytelling Festival, or just come on down and hear the stories that are being shared at the Storytelling Festival. That's this coming weekend, the 17th and 18th of September at Celebration Arts. We've got one group that is still hiring. They're looking for an administrative associate for on-stage productions. They're a nonprofit. They need a tech-minded person, they said, who likes supporting the arts and working with school-age children. So that's grades K through 8 that you'd be working with. They need you to know some of the programs like Canva and Constant Contact and Weebly to help keep their websites updated and their information current on all of their media that's out there. So if you think you've got that talent, please email them at onstagesac@gmail.com. Okay, now for the auditions. So get those resumes and headshots ready because we've got a fair few coming up. Let's see, I'm going to move through some of the ones that have already happened. Oh, well, I don't have any auditions for you this week because those have already happened. There may be some out on the website already. I'll go and grab those down, and the next time we get together, we'll have some more auditions. Let's check the Now Playing section and see what we've got. This is an amazing show that's up right now. In fact, I talked to a friend last night who had gone to see it this weekend and said it was a good show. It's called Good People, and it's by David Lindsay Abair, and the cast is here, and they are playing at the stage at Burke Junction. And our community conversation tonight is going to be with the artistic director from the stage at Burke Junction, who also directed this show. His name is Chris Smith. He's an absolute delight to chat with, so I can't wait to share that with you. So when you have an opportunity to, they've got a good long run. They just opened on the 9th, this last weekend, and they'll be running through October 2nd. So you've got plenty of time to go see Good People at the stage at Burke Junction. Corpse is still playing over at the Chautauqua Playhouse. They will be playing through September 25th. And this is the first show of their 2022-2023 season. So if you want to see a funny, dark comedy, go see Corpse, a comedy by Gerald Moon, playing at the Chautauqua Playhouse. This will be the final weekend now for And Then There Were None, which is playing at the Sutter Street Theater in Folsom. It closes this weekend, September 18th. So if you haven't gotten your tickets for this, you better get them now, because this one is going to be all gone come this weekend. Then There Were None, Fridays and Saturdays at 8 and Sunday at 4:30. Charade is still playing through this weekend, also at the Sophia Theater. Again, this is going to close on the 18th, so you better get your tickets very quickly. This is based on that romantic comedy mystery movie with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn from back in the day. So they've got 5 actors bringing this to life, and it's supposedly a very good production. So get your tickets for the Sophia Theater's production of Charade. The Royale is playing through the 25th at Capitol Stage. This one is by Marco Ramirez, who's also been a writer on some little shows like, I don't know, Orange is the New Black and Daredevil. It's directed by one of our local actors who's been, and directors who's been a part of our theater scene for some time, Anthony Juan, and it's the Sacramento premiere of this particular play. So get your tickets for Cap Stage presenting The Royale. It's playing through September 25th, so you've still got some time, but don't wait around. These weekends come and go so quickly. Becky's New Car is currently playing up at Volcano Theater in their Cobblestone Theater, which is right across the street from their big amphitheater. So it talks to you about life taking a wild and crazy ride. So if you want to see Becky's New Car, I hear it's pretty nice, it's up at the Volcano Theater Company. Also playing through September 24th will be Dorothy Meets Alice, The Wizard of Wonderland. This is playing at Sutter Street Theater, and Sutter Street does great children's shows. They have a lot of great mashups for their children's shows, and they're always kind of fun and funny. So get your tickets to go see Dorothy Meets Alice, The Wizard of Wonderland. We've also got another classic that's playing through October 2nd at Davis Musical Theater Company, Beauty and the Beast. Yes, it is a tale as old as time, and it is a wonderful music to go and see. This is a wonderful fairy tale version of Disney's Beauty and the Beast through October 2nd, so you've still got plenty of weekends to go and see this at the Gene Henderson Performing Arts Center on Penna Drive out in Davis. Theater in the Heights is currently running their farcical comedy, The Fox on the Fairway. It's written by Ken Ludwig and directed by Joran Brork, and it's a tribute to the gentleman who wrote things like Lend Me a Tenor, which will be opening up soon. We just Burke closed auditions for that one not too long ago, and Moon Over Buffalo. So if you like English farces from around the 1930s and 40s, this one will probably just crack you up. A Fox on the Fairway by Ken Ludwig. It's playing at Theater in the Heights through October 2nd. This will be the final weekend for Free Fall Stage's production of William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. This is directed by Rebecca Redmond, and it's playing at the Folsom Gazebo behind the Folsom Library. So it sounds like a lovely outdoor venue. And now that it's not so awfully hot, you might be in the mood to actually go and sit outside and see some theater. So make sure this is on your list of things to go and do. You can get your tickets at www.freefallstage.com for Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. Dear Edwina is playing through September 18th out at the Woodland Opera House. This is one of their young people's presentations, and it's a fun show from the same people who created great characters such as Junie B. Jones. Many of you have read that when you were younger. You're going to love this great show, Dear Edwina. So get yourself over to the Woodland Opera House and check it out. Tickets are on sale right now. Let's take a look at what's coming soon. We may have some things to move forward really quickly. October is upon us. Can you believe it, you all? We're at the middle of September already. So get ready for some great October shows. 101 Dalmatians Kids. This is a youth and little ones production brought to us by the Roseville Theater Arts Academy. RTAA brings great children's theater to light in our community, and this is musical direction by Jennifer Vaughn and directed by Topeka Vaughn. So they've got two different casts. They're going to have ASL interpreters on the October 7th and 8th performances. So if you know anybody who needs that service or would just like to go and enjoy seeing a production that's done with the ASL interpreters, it's really amazing and fun to watch, then go check it out. And then the Wednesday cast is playing on October 8th and 9th. The reason they do that is it gives a great many more children a chance to be in the show. So they've got two different cast groups, so everybody can go and see their little darlings on stage at the Roseville Theater Arts Academy. So get your tickets, 101 Dalmatians. Roseville Theater Arts Academy is also doing a production of The Music Man. This one opens this weekend, September 16th, and it will play through the 25th, and the production on the 24th is going to be the one that will be American Sign Language interpreted. So they're really making an effort to be inclusive and to support folks with different abilities so that they can enjoy theater too. So get your tickets for this classic show, Meredith Willson's The Music Man. Placer Repertory Theater will be opening their production of Ghost of Placer County the end of this month. So it's going to start on September 30th and it will run through October 8th. They've got several different shows lined up, so you've got plenty of time to get your tickets for Ghosts of Placer County. Here's some great historic tales shared by Placer Repertory Theater. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. This one, Reflection by Shane Robert, opens also this weekend. This is an amazing show that's going to be put on down at the Uli Theater, which is one of our great Midtown locations. It's on 28th Street in Midtown Sacramento. They're doing their production not only live, but they're streaming it also. So get your tickets for Reflection by Shane Roberts, directed by Elise Hodge, at the Uli Theater. Starts September 15th. Let us publicize your program or your theater, please. Email us at sarda.com and let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods. We would love to share your information with everybody out there. And speaking of sharing information, I want to take a moment now to share a community conversation that I got to have with Chris Smith of the stage at Burke Junction. Chris is their artistic director and also the director of the current show that they've got running called Good People. So sit back, relax, and take a listen to our conversation with Chris about this one. So give me a moment. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're here again for a community conversation sponsored by SARTA and featuring this week Mr. Chris Smith from the stage at Burke Junction. Chris, welcome. I am so glad you were able to join us tonight. We'll wave at each other.
Equal opportunity waving, yeah.
I know, equal opportunity waving, wave on both sides. And I have to share with everybody that Chris and I have been talking for about 25 minutes already. So I said, oh, we should probably record some of this so that we can share it with everybody, right? So here we go.
Just our secret.
It's our secret. All right. But we've solved the world's problems in that length of time. So now we can talk about
sending out a pamphlet and you'll all follow it. It'll be great. You'll just do because it's clean, it's clear, it's logical and heartfelt all at the same time.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. That's it. So see, this is what we've been doing is we've been having this great laughing time here. So Chris, first, please share with us a little bit about the stage at Burke Junction, what you're doing there. I have your title as artistic director. So what does that entail? And, talk to us a little bit about the theater company.
Absolutely. So we're up here in El Dorado County. Our bordering theaters are IT Coloma, the Melodrama over there, that Jason Boyer's doing. And then we have like Sutter Street and EDMT, the El Dorado Musical Theater. And when I walked in there for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof pre-pandemic, in the before times, it was their inaugural show. And it's this little black box. It's a 3/4 thrust stage with about 50 seats, 2 rows of seats on all 3 sides. Wonderful for scenic design because you only have to do a back wall. It's not giant proscenium with like multiple layers. You're right there watching people emote in various ways, 5 to 10 feet from your faces. So it's like almost watching a TV show from every person in the audience is a camera. Where they're doing a multi-camera show and everybody gets their own little close-up from time to time. Or if we're directing right, then you get like this in your face for at least a minute and get, oh, I'm part of the show. Oh my God. We noticed what William Glasser, whose family owns the Burke Junction complex, has been around Sacramento theater for a long, long time. His mother was involved in the film industry for years, and he wanted to do his own theater. So he enlisted Harvey Jordan, and it's one of the S names that isn't Sacramento, Stockton or another one of those out there, who had a theater company out there. He came out and helped build the first design of the stage out, which included that 3/4 thrust, 50 seats. And it's gone through iterations since then. And technically at this point in time, for being open for about 3 years, we've done 3.5 shows pre-pandemic, then we got shut down, and then started the 2022 season. And we're about to open our 4th show, which I'm directing.
Awesome.
And as far as artistic directing goes, we're scrappy and young, so I don't really have a panel. I can do any of the evil, benevolent things I want to do, depending upon my mood for the day. Bring a thesaurus. So my goal, when I look at a theater, most of the time I want to. It's part of the artistic director's statement that's in all of our new QR code phone thingy. Programs, but like I don't like the idea of not swinging for a mountain, which is a mixed metaphor, but also fine. Communication was had. I wanted to climb some mountains. I wanted to prove that we could do a bunch of stuff on the stage. So our first show was sort of a warm up. Jerry Montoya's Love and Baseball, the 2-person cast, young love-ish. That's runs into some adult problems and maturing issues in your 20s into your early 30s, and then immediately jumped into Arthur Miller's All My Sons, because if you're going to do a classic, why not smash the hardest, most dramatic suicide show that you can? And that was directed by Andrew Vonderschmidt. And as backup male actor at the stage, I was allowed to do one show this year. I allow myself to act in one show if somebody wants to cast me. It's not forced. I got to play Chris in All My Sons, one of the first roles I've ever played where I'm too old for it, possibly. He's supposed to be in his early 30s at the most, and I'm in my early 40s. But it was a great show. A lot of really great community support on that one. That's when people started going, ooh. At least when our return season. And then Chloe Bronzin did Emily Duchalet Defends Her Life Tonight by Lauren Gunderson.
Yes.
Magical realism, as we went with a classic, then wanted to take a swing at a magical realism piece. So when Chloe brought a few scripts to me when I asked her what she wanted to direct, actually that's what I should. That was your question about artistic directing. How does it work? Read a whole bunch of shows. We decided that it's like, I want to see what directors want to do. It's a bit of a drive. It's a new theater. They're taking a chance on us. Mm-hmm. So what I said, come take a look at the space, walk around, see what you think, and hand me 3 shows that you've always wanted to do that you think could work here. And for 2 of us, the directors in the 5-show season, 2 of us got to do exactly that. Andrew Vonderschmidt was old hat. He ran Long Beach Theater for years and then moved up here, works with IT primarily. But it's like, what are the classics you guys were looking at? Well, we did a Tennessee Williams, and that kind of leaves 3 dudes. But we really like All My Sons. And he read it and went, good, yes. Chloe handed me 3 scripts, and because we had starting off with a sort of light dramatic comedy, we're going to move into a hardcore classic, very dramatic, very heart-wrenching, painful, walking out shaking kind of show. Then it's like, well, we need to do a magical realism, then we need to do a modern drama, and for all of this work that we're making our audience do and all the Kleenex, we have to give them cake. So Michael Coleman was supposed to be directing in the pandemic. Like last Christmas, we were going to do Stupidest Angel at the Stage by Christopher Moore. I adapted it, but COVID actor problems happened, and then, okay, that's just what we're going to do for Christmas. Right. So it's figuring out. For me, it was just, what do we want to try to do? I know a lot of people want to do themes, and I think those are great, but I wanted to try and bring in directors who would put in an extra 1 to 30% because they're doing a show. They're like, I read this 20 years ago. I just read this last year. I've loved this show. I love it. Can I please do it? Like, right. You want that passion behind it, as opposed to what some theaters do, which is, this is our season. You do this show. Well, I don't necessarily like that show.
Right.
You do this show.
No one asked if you like that show.
Right.
I'm going to do that show. Yeah.
And part of it, part of the play reading stuff was also, what are we capable of casting? What representation do we want to have in the theater? What sort of themes are we going for? What's too for an audience, or what's too, well, that's funny, but what's the damn point? um, sort of shows, and then okay, what really crosses a line? Like too much swearing can be grating on a certain audience. It just turns them off. Or nudity, no matter how amazingly necessary it might be for that show, like a show like Equus or Loose Ends. There's another one about that I read that I was like, ooh, this is like a season 4 sort of show, but it was about caring for paralyzed people, and it included a shower scene. When I read it and went, I can't imagine not doing this show without nudity, because you need that. God, that must be uncomfortable for both of them. How? Because it's not a ooh, sexy. It's like that uncomfortability, and something that, because you're that close in a 3/4 thrust, it really is. It's just some of it is seared in the mind because you're that close, and you're like, God, that's difficult. Like on a proscenium, it's a blur. It's
sure. Yeah. I understand that sometimes things like that can end up being a little too much in the audience's face.
Yeah.
And can make them feel uncomfortable too with that, and uncomfortable not in the way that the play meant to bring that discomfort and that feeling, that empathy for what was going on between those characters. Just I'm not sure I'm supposed to be in this spot. Where do I look? Kind of moment. Yeah.
And there's and to me, it's always just it's less about some of that, but more about how do we continue to engage the audience without turning them off?
Sure.
Right. Because there are there are cabarets that half of our audience won't go to. There are I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. They're just not my thing, but people love them in the same way that some people find some nudity art, and some, like, you can do certain things. Like I know that I've seen a few shows. One of the big trends in one-person shows for a while, in at least when I was down in LA, were women with breast cancer, and they'd show the mastectomy
scars that we were showing. Yeah. Really? Okay.
And like on a small stage, and it's just like there's some people who are down for that, like the French films that are like, we are showing the pureness of their love making for a half hour. It's like, that's not necessarily something I need. I got it.
I'm clear. Okay.
Right? But some people love it. It's their thing, and it might not even be necessarily sexual for the audience then. It's just what you're willing to, what you want to say, and what you think is not going to push your audience into, I can't, I'm out now.
Okay. We talked a little bit before we got on the recording about this, and I want to bring it up now because you said some very, what I think are important things to share. We were talking about the audience that you have because of the regionality that we have within our theater companies and where you're placed in El Dorado Hills, what the demographic is up there, what your audience is. Do you think that makes a huge difference in what you are open to presenting that would be acceptable to your audience?
Yes and no. Like yes, in that I realized that I would scare some people away. No, in that I don't care if I scare certain people away. Like there are stories that you want to be able to tell. Like if you, with Emily, Emily by Lauren Gunderson. I don't know who's familiar about it. It's about a female scientist in the 1800s who basically got almost all the way to E equals MC squared. And the question is, what is the value of life? Is that the core of it? Like, I'm not done. What is the point? And the point ends up, like most science, it's to just help out the next generation.
Right.
Get a little closer. Get somebody else the idea that eventually gets to the big discovery, which just that at its core, like is not general audience if they're going to go see a musical that a high school does every like a Grease. Grease is one of those. There's like every 5 years, it's just done at these theaters. We know we're going to see auditions come up for it here within, like, just watch the clock. It's going to happen.
Sure.
Right? Like, the audience who loves Grease is not going to love Emily. Probably. No, we're not targeting the same thing. We also cast Adam Adafa as Emily, and I'm fairly certain that Emily du Chaillet was probably a white French lady. And Atom is, of course, a tall, amazing actress who's black. And if I tell some people in this area, for fairly obvious reasons, that we have a leading black actress playing a woman scientist in the 1800s in a show, and that's all you tell them, like, the hell do I want to see that for?
Right.
Right. NASCAR or something.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
hear
being
you.
a jerk. I'm being a little bit of a jerk, but like the next show, Good People, that I'm directing by David Lindsay Abaire, is about a woman who's over 50. The first scene, she's fired in the alley behind the dollar store that she works at by her manager is a guy in his early 20s who she babysat. And the rest of the show is her looking for a job. It's originally a Frances McDormand role. It's one of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And Lori Nallingen is just killing it right now. We're moving into previews next week, but right, it's one of those shows that talks about being poor, and there's a little bit of what I love about this script. There's a little bit of racism in it, which I absolutely love. It's set in South Boston in modern times, but so somebody who's 55 still experienced a little bit of the forced busing and whatnot, right? But there's this little bit of racism, but every time, and this is what I think is really important sometimes, in that we in a exceptionally woke place don't go to, where if she says something racist in the first scene and her manager is about to fire her for doing so, it is not a heroic act to be a racist. It is not of benefit. And we're showing it is not of benefit to be racist or homophobic because, like, it's not because I think the exact line when she goes, the Chinese girl that works the register, she's like, the racist stuff isn't helping your case. It's that sort of thing. Like, no, we can't say Chinese person. Like, well, if we're showing the negative effects of doing so, absolutely. And that's one of the things, if we have an audience up here who just doesn't have any contact with anybody outside of white people, and we're like, sometimes even just that little bit of racism or homophobia or sexism or xenophobia, it doesn't help. If you can just sort of put that idea out there in something they can tolerate and enjoy. But tolerate is not the right thing. If they can enjoy the play and be like, yeah, I mean, it was really funny when she said that, but yeah, she still got fired.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's that, like, a part of our job is to point out how something goes wrong. And if you can't do the wrong thing and then get repercussions for it.
Sure. There's consequences that go with the behavior.
Right. Yeah.
And showing that to an audience that may not be experiencing those consequences on a regular basis is important. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And this one to me was about, like, Emily is about an intelligent woman who is not given a place in the world of science because of her womanness. And Margaret in The Good People isn't highly educated, isn't necessarily, she's not dumb, she's just not super smart. She's poor and has one of the best monologues about what I think people who are middle class to above don't understand about poorness. And like there's two aspects of theater that I really like. And one of the reasons I really like this show was that sometimes an artist or a writer, specifically a storyteller, from decades away, miles away, race, gender, sexual orientation away, says something that somehow reaches you, puts it better than your brain ever could, and you feel less alone in the world because somebody else had the thought.
Sure.
Like somebody else understands this pain.
Right.
And that monologue on poorness, I was like, dear God, it's this thing that creates this thing that creates this thing. And because you didn't have the time, the health insurance, the thing here, ramification, and I'm in this position.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And then there's the other bit of like, okay, that makes me feel less alone that somebody else knows that. And for somebody who's never experienced it, getting the opportunity to experience something they never experienced as well.
Right.
And a
Right.
basic human thing, like poorness and not understanding what it's like, as I'm sure almost everybody on here has got a friend who's, or somebody they've in their lives who's never had the ramifications, who just has money, like, oh, we have money, do the thing.
Right.
They don't get how you're like, no, my car's broken down.
Right.
Well, just get it fixed.
No, because I have to buy groceries.
Right. My rent's due.
Or I have to choose between groceries and rent. And I have a kid. And yeah.
I can't afford a tow yet. I can't afford a tow. Well, you just use your AAA card. I have the cheapest insurance on the planet, which doesn't include a tow, like that sort of thing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And like you're forced to watch it in this scenario.
Yeah.
Just that brief moment of, that really lovely, and I never assumed that a theater piece is ever going to make somebody go, I think of this a whole new way now, and I'm going to vote differently. I'm running for Congress, and I'm never assuming that's going to happen. But just if you can nudge a little,
sure,
because you got them in the space, they're enjoying themselves. You want them to have the full, like All My Sons is a perfect example of what I think it can do. You go through it, and these are men, and you respect them through the whole thing, just like Death of a Salesman. You respect them through the whole thing, and then tragedy happens because they were men.
Got it.
So you get to the end, and you're feeling it, and go. And maybe 1 in 10 of the men who might have those qualities that would benefit from some change, some therapy, or whatever, look at it and go, maybe I'm doing a little bit of that. That's all you can hope for.
Yeah. Well, and it's very much like, well, what you're sharing. You're not handing them a whole bouquet of flowers. Maybe you just plant a seed.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll grow a little bit, when they come and see some of these things, and, the poignancy of the way a playwright puts together their material that then you actors bring out on stage. If it goes home with 1 or 2 people as a, that's a nugget to hang on to that, then, your work is done. Your work is really done, and it's been powerful. So.
Right. And that's the other wonderful thing is that if you want really great actors, because our community has a lot of really talented people.
Oh, absolutely.
And what my goal was for this year is say, we're gonna take a stab at some mountains. I want to do a few shows that have really strong roles that people really, really want to play. I want them to want this show more than any other show because they read it and went, I have to audition for this. I will audition for this other thing, but I want to audition for this one because I want this show. Like that's the feeling that we really wanted to go after this year for at least the talent side of things.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
then, because it's so hard to create a reputation without getting one. You need to get the good actors. That's why leading off with All My Sons was the thing. Like we got Alan Ponce and Julie Anker to play Joe and Kate. A few calls later, and we had a full cast of people that we got a lot of really good. I was on stage too much to know how it was.
Good feedback.
I was too busy acting to know how the acting went.
Well, you bring up a number of things because you've got a great season going on right now. But this is a question I always like to ask folks who, are coming on. What did you all do during the pandemic? I know you were doing things up until then, and then what happened?
Well, so I directed the last show before the pandemic hit there, and then um, there was no real sense of creating a season. It was kind of show to show to show, because Bill was feeling it out. He had one director, the guy who helped build the space. Harvey was like, "Well, I'm directing one and out." Okay. Brought on someone else, directed another show. I directed. We brought on another artistic director for a minute. And it just went in a direction that Bill wasn't happy with, and that I went, okay, fine. And so most of the time, because honestly, it's El Dorado County up here. We have a sheriff here who isn't going to enforce a mask mandate.
Yeah.
If we actually wanted to, just open it up, and we could do wrestling matches in the middle of the pandemic if we wanted to. We didn't. So I just sat down and started doing the research to get this season together. Honestly, okay. For me, we tried to do one show by the end. Last Christmas, we tried to do Stupidest Angel, our upcoming show, and it just the issues, little COVID, little actor stuff, and then so we put it into this season. But the previous Christmas, we did. I tried to do a structured improv sketch show for Christmas over Zoom. That it was fine. It was fun for us. It was shot in this chair right here. I got to play Rudolph in heaven. It was weird. But yeah, in the end, it was. We just did. There's no setup at the stage for the streaming quality that somebody like Elise has at the Uli.
Right. Yeah.
Like she's the place to go for that right now, because and she's turned it into her model, which is fantastic. I know you talked to her recently.
Yeah.
And she's like, she needed me to come in and play a gruff gunslinger with much more beard for one of the things Lana wrote with me and Dan Fagan. And you're doing all your stage work. She's like, no, downstage, because the camera's over there. Oh, right. I was acting.
The wrong spot. Oh, act over there. Act over on this side. Yeah.
I'm being rough and confused at the moment. So I just got to meet a whole bunch of people, which is really the thing. It was just have conversations with various people in the area, and especially, I think it was really helpful to figure out the direction, because because COVID, it wasn't just COVID. It was, you got to watch what the world turned into under COVID. And then say, okay, well, we're learning something about the psychology of individuals and sociology of groups and whatnot. So what do we do? Like, is there a place to try and bridge a conversation in story where the theme can hit both groups? Because I know we've got some of the most out and proud young shouty lesbians in our theater community coming to our theater, sitting right next to a guy who runs a winery that has a giant State of Jefferson flag on his those two people are sitting right next to each other, experiencing the same thing.
Sure.
And not every theater is supposed to be, come on everybody, just be friends, watch us be wonderful while you sit there. It's not every theater is supposed to be that. There are places where we talk to us, and we need to talk to us, and every us is different, right?
Right.
And then some theaters need to and that should be the rule, the goal of those of us, I guess, liberals and politically agendaed people in theater, is to be like, okay, if we want to talk at all, we have to do it where they come to us. So we can't sell that. That makes you strong enough to withstand being in a place with them, sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's sort of what I was a conversation I had with a lot of people in SAC, specifically in the Black and Latinx or Latino communities, depending on which nomenclature you want for that. And
Sure.
um, just like, so what is asking what my job is as this, right? How
Right.
do I help while looking like them?
You would be considered, first off, an ally. And yes, so many of the times and we all watched the world unfold and implode at the same time during the pandemic. And depending on what skin tone you were living behind at the time,
Right.
you may have seen it from very different ways.
Oh, yeah.
For me, looking at it from my perspective, I was there's a line that we use around our house that my youngest daughter likes to quote. It was actually said by the youngest brother and Malcolm in the Middle. I don't have any expectations and still I'm disappointed. And that was sort of the way I looked at everything. It's like people were experiencing outrage and wanting to do all these poignant pieces talking about the issues around racism and this and that and the other thing, and like this was news. And I sat back going, this isn't news.
See,
this has always been going on.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just ready to see this now.
And that's kind of it's not necessarily my story, because when I found theater in college or in high school, I was of course around a bunch of white kids because I grew up on a ranch in rural El Dorado County. So I was the weirdo or the ostracized group because I was a weirdo. I didn't grow football shoulders until college. I was a skinny kid. But then when I got to college, it's all of us. Who cares? We're just, it wasn't so much, if somebody has a dialect, you're like, oh, where's that from? That's cool. So, oh, you're a part of that culture. You're wearing that hat or what is that? The appropriate questions. I would like to hope they're appropriate questions. Like, I want to get to know about you, and I'm a nosy white dude. I just want to know what it means to you, like that sort of thing.
Sure.
And then working in the film industry, it's everybody just doing a job.
Right.
And occasionally you stand up and realize this place is awfully white. The last set I was on was not this white. But it's sometimes you do something ridiculously integrated. Like I became the token white guy for a couple of Black producers.
Oh wow!
I was the white guy in the room, where I got to feel that. I've only got to feel that fun feeling a couple of times that everybody else describes to me or you read, of walking into a room and wondering if you're safe, like walking in and like, oh, I don't. And everybody just turns around and goes, is he okay?
Are you lost, dear? Yeah.
Yeah, there was no deer for a couple of them. But it was always that. But once you sit down, like, I'm here to help. I'm here to do my job on your film. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
So I just got used to thinking, because I was in LA, that it wasn't over. Like, there wasn't that equity yet for anybody.
Sure.
But then the Me Too movement happened, and like it started to look like it was moving in that direction. And gay rights weren't a thing when I was young and knew closeted and out gay kids in high school.
Right.
And then, of course, as you get further, some of my best friends were gay on either side, and then that's what I had the experience of in LA. And then I came back up here, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes we find ourselves in those limiting spaces, or seemingly limiting spaces. I get from you that you do try and expand some people's worlds periodically with some of the things that you get. That is probably one of the best things about being in the position that you're in. You can select something that will push a little further on
Yeah.
someone and say, I think you need to hear this.
Right.
I think you need to hear this.
Right. And it's a delicate walk, because there's something that I won't talk about in our current show, because I don't want to virtue signal for the theater. That's not my job. My job is to put on good shows with good themes, with good cast, treat people well, and pray the audience has a good time.
Right.
My job is not to say, we have a Black person in the no. It's not. If you do that, you're not helping. I don't think. Personally, I've been told, dude, no. From enough people, like, don't come see the Black person on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like, no, don't. But one of the terms, I don't know if I came across it or whatnot, but when I asked the question of Black friends when I think the second BLM movement started, it's like, okay, so what's my job? What do I do? Because I want the world that I thought we were moving towards, and in Los Angeles, to be the world we're moving towards.
Right.
And they went, I don't need you to march. I do not need that. You don't have a lot of money, so donating's out. But if you're in a position of power, I have had more. There's an assumption of mine. I've dealt with more sexism, racism, and xenophobia as somebody who looks like people at a bar or a supermarket, because they will assume that I share the view based upon where I live and this.
Sure.
Because they'll feel it towards other people, but they're like, oh, that guy's gonna understand. No.
Yeah, and then when you look at them and go, no, not really.
Right.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah, I just read James Baldwin, brother. I don't.
not resonating with me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah. So in the theater, like, I don't want it to be the primary goal, but I do understand the desire. I don't want to virtue signal, but at the same time, we want to give the best actors the roles that we can give them.
Sure.
We want the best actors to come. And just like I find it really stupid, I find it dumb that racism exists in an intellectually pushed community, like any sort of, not all of us, but not you, where anyone can have the next great idea, is dumb.
Right.
It's just
agreed.
Right. It's just stupid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, why would you say everybody except the Dominican women in wheelchairs? But that might be a genius. Why would you do that?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. And humans within our history seem to have done that quite a bit. So yeah.
When we were, it's there were limited resources. So we fought over them.
Right.
I don't really have to do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
We're throwing stuff away constantly.
Right? Yeah, we've gotten to very much that throwaway kind of thing.
But yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say. So in light of that, do you think you would ever? And actually, let me phrase this differently. When you put out a call for casting, then how wide a net are you
throwing
out there? And do you hope that you have diversity coming to audition at your theater? Because I would not normally think of, well, I'm going to go do a play up in El Dorado Hills.
Right. We're moving a little deeper. We're in Cameron Park. It's just like
okay.
Yeah, it's all right. But yeah, it's fairly safe, but we do have a Trump bar like in the complex at the other end. So and we've all gone in there once a show. Every cast, no matter what grouping it is, age to race, whatever, gender. Like, we have to go once. We must see how these people live. But yeah, for auditions, we want as much as we possibly can to, it's as wide as we can. We've had, like, there's this, I'll use an example from Stupidest Angel. There's a character in it who's kind of, he's got a little swagger to him. So a white guy might play that in the Matthew McConaughey, kind of aloof but charming at the same time. Like, I don't care about that, I care about this. And there was something really interesting that in a reading, one of the black actors we had just asked to come in and read, because we knew it was good, to read the role, he brought, it was different, but it worked. There was a swagger that was culturally appropriate that came out of him just growing up and who he was, that just hit in a completely different way that I wasn't prepared, that we're like, huh. So when there's a character type, you can bring your own thing to it, and it's interesting. But the primary goal is just to do the best work you can. And just like in most other endeavors, like we've talked about, one of the things that we knew up here was that we don't really have a large disenfranchised community like Sacramento does, or Los Angeles, San Francisco, like any metropolitan area. It's mostly white up here. But the biggest disenfranchised group in the area, in a different way than it is in metropolitan areas, are women, specifically women over 50. And so one of the goals this year was to do work that displayed women that's hopefully approachable for an audience. You want to talk to the right people about what they're doing to women, without saying you're jerks and you need to change. Here's an experience, feel it, and maybe change your mind. So Emily is about a very intelligent woman, and the other we have a dollar store within walking distance. This woman could be working from the show I'm directing right now.
Right.
Like those are the people that I'm hoping are empowered by coming to it, and I could talk to them about coming to this show. Can't talk to them about King Lear.
Right. The relevancy is just, it's not there for that.
And I think everybody feels that at some point. We get a lot of our furniture and prop stuff from hospice, because there's one right there. And they're like, oh, is this for the show? Like, yeah, what's this show about? And you tell them, and you're staring into the face of the woman who could be in this show, and she has to stop. She just goes, so they do shows about women like me?
Right.
Like, you have to come to our preview.
Yeah.
I'm not making you buy a ticket. This is what we're doing it for. So you can sit in the audience wrecked because somebody saw you. Right.
It is wonderful when you can have moments like that where you feel like you're visible in theater and in a show, and something resounds with you. And I know it's, both of us are actors, and we've had those moments of, wow.
Yeah.
That was touching. That was uplifting. That was, everything from heart-wrenching to joy-filling. To experience that. And those are some of the beauties of theater to me. Yeah.
Especially with this smallest stage. And I recognize, and one of the fun things that I get to recognize is that I am part of as a white dude over 40, I'm what all of the shows have been about in European culture and Eastern culture. You've got a couple of women leads in like kabuki, or like even look back to Around the Fireside, any tribal stuff is usually there's a dude, there's another dude, there's a dude, and they see a beautiful woman. It's like, and because of the tests, one married it, and it was also part animal, but the other men were eaten. So it's the story of the man. It's all the Joseph Campbell stuff, where it's like most prehistory that comes down to us is about men, and that's the big difference for me. Is like I of course want to see stories that resonate with me, but I also recognize that there needs to be at least a balance, so that the goal should be to never ostracize a group entirely by never showing their story. Or at least in our case, we're trying to just integrate. I don't know if we talked about it here yet, I know we talked about it previously, but the idea of de-stereotypifying, for where it's like if you have a potentially racist community that will come to the theater possibly to see a fun show, something they want to see, and there's a Black actor, Latino actor, or Asian American, AAPI actor, or transgender, whatever, that they see enough of them in various roles that have different qualities of human being that connect with them, because we're human beings. It's like my brain can't process, like, how do you not see another human being? I don't know. Right. But when you have that thing, you can when you can no longer pinpoint what a color or what a religion or what a gender, or like if you can't pinpoint attributes of them because you've now seen them and display so many, they can eventually be human, right? Or that's the goal. So I don't think the job, and it might sound awful to say, it's not my job to go hunt down actors of color or gender or sexuality, unless we're doing a specific play. Like in Good People, we have it's a very Good People is about 5 white people and 1 black one.
Got it.
What it's about. Emily is magical realism in a dream world in the afterlife, where you can have a cast of 2 black actors, 1 Middle Eastern, and 2 white, and 1 Hispanic Latinx.
Cool.
Because it's that sort of show. Like, we wanted more diversity, and we're having that conversation for Stupid Angel right now, is that we wanted more diversity in the cast, even though it might not fit the time and the location that it's actually set in.
Sure.
I'm like, we want some representation in there, and we're trying. But if nobody comes to audition, if actors don't respond to Facebook messages or emails, like, you can only get so mad at I'm not going to, if I have 5 actors in a room, I'm fighting to fill roles in every show, because we 9 times out of 10 this season have not had enough people show up to a general or specific audition to fill a cast. Or if you're filling a cast, it's not exactly what you wanted.
Sure.
And it's usually this sort of person that's not showing up.
Right.
Any color. It's the white. It's the male actors of man age. You can have a young man, an older man, but like, oh, that's a dude. That's a man.
Yeah.
Like, there are so few and far between, and I'm not allowed to make the stage the Chris show.
You're right.
I'm allowed to be in every show.
You're not going to put on the one-man show because you have to fill all the other roles now. Yeah.
Right, look how wonderful I am. I have other things to do.
Sure.
But yeah, like, it's so sometimes you just take what you can get. With options.
I hear you.
I mean, if we were doing like someplace, I don't know if it's a reason or an excuse. It's just the way it is, which sounds like a reason then. But like B Street doesn't have an excuse.
Right.
They have equity contracts.
Right.
They don't have an excuse. They're in the center of Sacramento. They pay well. If I just put up we need a man who's 30 to 45 for this role. And I never know what the right term is, honestly, as well as because everybody says colorblind casting or
Right.
all races and ethnicities. Like, I want that to be like, what you're attempting to communicate. It sounds stupid coming out of my mouth.
Right.
I said
right.
man. I said 35 to 45.
And that's all the parameters. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. Right.
Yeah. I also recognize that it's like, you want to, but you can't all the time. Because if I can't get somebody on the phone or to respond to a message to come to an audition, or even have a coffee conversation to just throw them in the show because I've seen them in something else.
Right. It makes it very hard. Okay, so what you're hearing, you guys, is next time Stage at Burke Junction has an audition, he runs up there because they're looking for actors. All the actors, come on. Listen, I want to be cognizant of your time, Chris, and I know we could.
I don't do anything useful.
Hey, don't tell them theater's not useful. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It is
all the useful things.
Just as useful as dairy farmers.
So, but I do wanna thank you for giving us your time. Please tell us what's playing right now and what's coming up. You've mentioned the titles. Yeah. Give us some hard dates and times for these.
Coming up soon at the Stage, starting on September 9th with a preview on the 8th. You can contact me on Facebook if you really, really, really are cheap and want to come to a preview. Is Good People by David Lindsay Abaire, starring Lorraine Allington, Georgianne Wallace, Ted Ridgway, Laurent J.L. Hall, Serena Krastev, and Savannah Vanna Nettle. AD'd by Deborah Bromley. I'm directing it. It's running for 4 weekends, Friday, Saturday, usual, Friday, Saturday at 8, Sunday at 2. Our first weekend, if you find it on Facebook, it is a buy one, get one, as we're trying to front load. We did a couple of sellout shows thus far this season, which makes us very happy people, but we want to make sure that people can come in and people see it early, so that we are not turning people away at the end. Come see it early. And then Christmas, I want to say somewhere around November 19th-ish through December 19th-ish, 5 weekends. We are posting the cast shortly of Christopher Moore's The Stupidest Angel, world premiere. I adapted it from the ridiculous book by Christopher Moore. It is the cake to our overly dramatic season. There are zombies, there is Santa, there are fruit bats, there is smashing a man into the couch trying to have sex with him. There is there's lasagna flying. There is a man attempting to cure all of his sexual urges with electrodes on his testicles. It's very scientific. There is a very dumb angel.
Well, that sounds like one that I definitely won't miss either.
No, based upon the Rocky Horror thing, I was like, yeah, this is your show.
This is the one. This is the one. All right. Well, listen, Chris, thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight.
3 more hours of deleted scenes. We can go.
Hey, listen, because we can be here all evening.
Get the coffee.
See, we have way too much fun doing this, everyone. If your theater company would like to come and chit chat with me one evening and tell us all about life, the universe, and everything, give us the answer. 42, we know. Get in touch with us at sarda@sarda.com. Email us, let us know you want to be part of these community conversations. Go see the shows at the Stage at Burke Junction. Yes. Chris will be there. He will entertain you for hours. Okay, just hours.
Are you saying that I'm no longer on the show after this is done? I think we have a good rapport here.
I think we do. Well, we'll have to have you as a weekly. You know what? We can make this a weekly feature. We could figure out the ills of the world. But that's a whole nother thing. We won't call it a community conversation. That'll be, Chris and Iris rule the world then.
Right. Cyrus.
Cyrus. There we go. It's our show. Anyway, Good
Beautiful.
night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Have
Thank
a
you for
most
supporting the theater.
wonderful rest of your time. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here. And we'll see you next time for our next community conversation.
I had the best time chatting with Chris, if you couldn't tell. It was so entertaining. And when we were done, we talked for about another half an hour. It was hysterical. So he will be back again to share with us some more. It's so wonderful when we can get folks from the community to come and share their passion. I know you could hear how passionate he was about what they were doing and the purposefulness behind all of the planning that goes into putting together a season's run of theater. So if you have time, please go and see Good People up at stage at Burke Junction. It's playing right now and it's playing through October 2nd. So you still have time to do that. We've got so many things that are coming up. Again, let us publicize your program on SARTA. Email us, let us know what's coming up. And I say this to you every week. I hope you take us seriously. Please follow us because there's always new information coming out. Follow us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I'm sure we're on Twitter. We're right here on Twitch. If you haven't done so and you're watching this, please push the follow button and follow us so that you can get the notification the next time we broadcast. Just a reminder, folks, we are going to take a vacation for a bit. Have a bit of a hiatus for about 2 weeks, and then we'll be back with our weekly features this week at the theater and some more community conversations. I've got one coming up with Kimberly Marshall from the Macbeth Project, which is going to be just wonderful. They've got a project opening in October. They're doing Dracula. Tease, tease, tease. All right, so you'll have to come back so you can see that community conversation. Well, everyone, I tell you this each week. I hope you'll take me up on it sometime or another. I'd love to see you at the theater. So thank you all again and have a most excellent evening. It's cooled off. It's lovely. Bye, everyone.